Welcome to episode 2 of the further adventures of your friendly neighborhood Rockin, Hikin' Librarian. Hi, I'm Pete Biddle. I'm your friendly neighborhood Rockin, Hikin' Librarian, and this is episode 2, The Journey to Librarianship. Why did I become a librarian? How did I become a librarian? That's what this episode is going to all be about. My journey. Well, if you would have told me out of high school I'd be working with kids and liking it, I would have said you were crazy. Because obviously I didn't want to have anything to do with kids and didn't want to work with them, didn't want to teach. And I didn't get a calling to be an educator. You know, everybody goes, oh, I had a calling, or I've always wanted to be an educator. No. I was destined to not only be an educator, but I was destined to be a librarian. Yep. As strange as that sounds, no matter what I would have done in my life, I would have ended up being a librarian because that's what I was meant to do, and I absolutely love it. I so thoroughly enjoy my job. Like I said before, I can't believe they pay me to do this job. It's so much fun. So how did this all start? Well, I was on my second year of teaching, and I was teaching science in the Squirrel Independent School District. And of course, beginning of the year, what are we doing? We're getting ready for science fair. So I took my students to the library, and there was this librarian. Her name was Mrs. DeSantis. Wow. She was having so much fun, and she looked like she was enjoying it so much. So I asked her, I said, hey, you know, how long have you been a librarian? Do you like being a librarian? And she was like, oh, best job ever. Just went on, and she radiated with joy. And then seeing her working with the students, I was like, that's a cool job. Nah, but I'll never do that. Fast forward a few more years, I'm now in the El Paso Independent School District, which is the district I'm in now, and I'm teaching guitar at the high school, at Chapin High School to be exact. And I would take my students in there to do some research, and it was my second, oh gosh, I have to go back in time, it's been so long, second or third year. I had brought my students in because we were looking at recording degrees, you know, how to be a audio engineer. And I just loved being in the library. It felt so good. And taking the kids there was exciting too. And the assistant librarian said, you should be a librarian. And I was like, nah, you know, I thought about it, but, you know, UTEP, the college here in El Paso, doesn't offer their co-op like they used to with UT Austin. And she said, well, you know, you can do a lot of it online through the University of North Texas. I go, really? She said, yeah, you would do some classes online, and in the summertime you'd go up there, you know, probably for a couple summers. Huh. I said, but the money. Whew. Graduate school is so expensive. And then she said, the district will pay for it. Hallelujah. I went, what? The district will pay for my master's degree? You're kidding, right? She goes, no, they will pay for it. So that night, I went home, went on the UNT website, and started my application process. So I did my application. I told my principal, you know, that if all goes well, you know, I will be resigning because all I need is 6 hours. At that time in the state of Texas, you just need 6 hours of graduate work in library sciences in order to start applying for library jobs. So I did that, had my 6 hours, and me being crazy, resigned without a job. But I saw, oh, look, there's like 8 positions open. I'll get one. So, yeah, I'll get one. I kept going to a few interviews and dropping off my resume to these schools. And the 8 went to 7, went to 6, went to 5, went to 4, went to 3, went to 2, went to 1. Whew. Stress factor 9. Well, more like a stress factor 7. Because, well, even though if I didn't get that library gig, I was certified in science and I was certified in music K through 12. So I'll get some kind of teaching gig, right? I'd rather have the library gig. But we'll see what happens. So I went and interviewed at Ross Middle School, and I got the gig. And that was so exciting. And I really enjoyed that first year because I made so many mistakes of what not to do as a librarian. But I learned a lot, and it was great. It was fabulous. And and what was even amazing, that first day, my first day, kids, come in and check out books. They always ask, "Can I check out books yet?" I go, "Absolutely, I'm here, let's go." One of the teachers walks in, and she goes, "Hi, you're the new librarian." I said, "Yes, I am." And she goes, "I'm Mrs. Humphreys, and I want to bring my classes in on Friday." I said, "Sure." And she said, how would you like to work on the National History Day with me?" I have no idea what it is, but sure. Right away, I knew that this was going to be an exciting job. So after that, I went to, from Ross, I went to Chapin for a year. That'll be a whole other video. And then I went to Usleta for 4 years, which is another district in El Paso. And then came back to Chapin for 5 years, 6 years? Oh gosh, I don't know. I'll have to do that counting. And then ended up at the Young Women's Academy, and I am really enjoying this job. So that's my journey, how I became the librarian. I was going to do some in-depth stuff about my times with libraries, my feelings toward libraries before, but that's going to have to be for another video. Otherwise, this video will be way too long, because I still got to do book reviews. So it's time for book reviews. All right, so the first book I'm going to review is I consider it my favorite book ever. And there's only one reason, well actually there's two reasons why this is my favorite book. Number one, it got me into reading again. It was in high school, and actually was it in high school? I was right out of high school that I picked up The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I devoured it. In other words, I read it in a few days. And that book was so good. I enjoyed it so much that when I got to the end, I went, wow, that was a great story. And then I went back to the first page and I reread it. Only book I've ever done that to. Only book I've ever read all the way through and then reread right away, right when I finished it. And that's a big part of why I love reading now, is that book, and it got me back into reading. So, fantastic story. Every chapter is adventure all the way through, to learn how the Ring of Power was found. Gandalf is an amazing character. The wizard, of course, you get to meet Gollum, and all the dwarves, and you have a dragon, and it's a major quest, and it's a high fantasy, meaning that it's a made-up world, and it is done so well, and there's so much action once you get past those first couple of chapters. I absolutely love it. Recommend it for middle school, high school, any adult who's never read it. The movies, not so good. Disappointed me. They're still adventureful and a lot of fun, but nothing like the book. So that's my first book review. My second one is an audiobook. I just finished the Lord of the Rings audiobooks. A total of, what was it? It was a total of 56 hours of listening to. I had read the book, it was a little bit, maybe a year or so after I'd read The Hobbit. Very different, a lot more detail, a lot more adventure. All I remember about it was I liked it, but I didn't like it as much as I liked the Hobbit, and it took me a lot longer to read. But I felt I should, one of these days go back to it, and I did. I went back to it recently as an audiobook. And what was really great about this audiobook, it was read by Andy Serkis, the one who plays Gollum in the movies. And I absolutely adore the movies. Fantastic. But one thing about revisiting a book I haven't read in so long, and of course all my life experiences and my age now, I really enjoyed it. Oh my God. J.R.R. Tolkien is a fantastic storyteller. He writes incredibly well. I enjoyed all 3 books. Absolutely highly recommended. This is such an epic journey of doing the right thing. Frodo with the Ring of Power, being the ring bearer, his good buddy Sam Gamgee. Oh my gosh, friendship, and then the Fellowship of the Ring, which is the name of the first book. All these different types of people together. The dwarf Gimli, Legolas, the elf, men together, Aragorn and Boromir. Then you also had his other friends, Merry, Pippin, and Sam, other hobbits helping Frodo, and of course Gandalf the Wizard. It just made a fantastic read of seeing them together, and at first not really getting together, but finally becoming one for doing the right thing, which is to get rid of that ring. Fantastic story, highly recommend it. At the beginning there was a foreword by J.R.R. Tolkien, and I'd read many things of why he wrote this book, and but I never heard from him what he was going to say. He said it wasn't an analogy. It was just an epic tale. Oh, an allegory. What the heck? I was thinking in my head, was that the right word? No, allegory. He said it wasn't an allegory for anything. He just wanted to write a good story. And guess what? He wrote a fantastic story. I thoroughly enjoy it. If you're a reader and you like high fantasy, give it a shot. It might be too much for a middle school student unless they've read some Sanderson or maybe some other epic high fantasy stories, but otherwise a high school student who likes to read a lot, great story. And for, of course, anybody at any age should visit the Lord of the Rings. If you haven't visited in a long time, maybe revisit it. Fantastic read. Well, that's it for this week. My library journey. If you have any questions, you can always put them in the comments, and I'll get back to you. And one more thing. Last week I did a shout out to the person who wrote the theme song and the ending, Pat McDonald. He was our rhythm player and singer, but there's also 2 other amazing musicians on that incredible recording, and that was Corey Pearson, who is an incredible bass player out in Tucson right now, and then the drummer David Gonzalez, who he just had it. He was one of those musicians who just had it, just fantastic drummer. So forgot to say kudos to them last week, so kudos this week. So enjoy your week until next week. And remember, reading rocks, and the book was better. It's kind of close, though, with The Lord of the Rings. Those movies were really good. The Hobbit, book definitely was better.